Well, the former governor of Lagos State, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, recently called for a return to the ideals of the 1963 constitution, which he said guaranteed fiscal federalism, regional autonomy, regional constitutions, and progressive competition among the federating units. Tinubu said, quote, many of the 68 items on the exclusive legislative list should be transferred to the residual legislative list, as this would be in harmony with the 1963 constitution. Again, an instance of reaching back to revive something old, yet more likely to give us a better Nigeria, end quotes. Well, let's bring in a politician, a Lagos-based politician, Ayodele, Adewale, and the Executive Secretary, Anti-Corruption Network, Ebenezer, Oyetakin, joining us from Abuja. But we'll begin, of course, with Ayodele here in the studio. It's good to have you on the news hour.
Thank you for having me.
First off, let's hear your thoughts on the former governor's position that the present system is giving too much power, is over-centralizing power at the center rather than at the expense of the federating units.
Well, for people's easy understanding, I would like to term it as putting too much responsibilities in the hands of the federal. You know, when you have a lot in your hands become too full, and it makes you too powerful to the extent that, like what Asiwaju said, the federating units are becoming less powerful, less responsible for the immediate needs of the people. Take, for instance, local government. That is the closest government to the people. I see no reason why the federal government has anything to do with primary education. I see no reason why they have anything to do with basic health provision, even water. These are things, even energy supply. These are things that local government, private individuals can do within the immediate comfort of the people. I mean, it's absurd for everybody to be running down to the center, you know, to do some certain basic things that should be done within small jurisdiction.
And talking about this restructuring debate is gradually snowballing into the regional system of government practiced in 1963. How viable do you think that the present government of today will go back to the 1963 constitution adopted? Because right now, or then, there's this discussion though in a public palace that because there wasn't crude oil, so you know the regionalism constitution held sway, but now we have crude oil. Do you think that regionalism can really see the light of day?
There was crude oil. What you would say that it was not fashionable in the economy as at then, because crude oil has been seen in Nigeria as far back as around 1920s or thereabout, but in commercial quantity that makes it very lucrative for the country. Yes, it was not our mainstay. But beyond that, part of the APC promise to the people is that Nigeria was going to be restructured. Go and check our electoral promises very well, our campaigns. We had said that, but when it will be achieved was not particularly specified. And before you do such thing, you have to bring it to the public domain for debates and all whatnot. And I think maybe people's thinking is getting tweaked by the terminology restructuring. We could call it re-agreement. Let's come to sit down, re-agree on how we want to run the country, how we want to refashion our laws and all of that. And these things are very germane as of now.
Right.
Because if you don't do it, a lot of the national questions will keep coming up, like iPod, South-South agitations and all whatnot.
Okay, for now, let's bring in the Executive Secretary, Anti-Corruption Network, Ebenezer Oyetakin. Thank you very much for being with us on the news. Tell us your thoughts on regional autonomy. Is Nigeria ready for that? We saw protests from teachers some months or weeks ago saying they do not want their local governments to be in charge of their salaries, for instance. They want it to still be, they want status quo to be maintained. What are your thoughts on regional autonomy?
I do not know what people meant by regional autonomy. I only hope that some people are not hiding and concealing their selfish political interest under some certain cover in order to blaze their desire to dismember the country. Restructuring, yes, that I will agree with. I agree that there is need for Nigerians to dialogue. Dialogue in such a sincere manner, because recently I published a book which I presented at Sheraton Hotel, Abuja, where I titled Nigeria, a Giant in Search of Her Destiny. We have a destination, and like an aeroplane on a flight, you must continue to listen to the voice of the directorate from the control towers about your journey. They could tell you the cloud in this particular place could not allow your navigation, so go a little down low, fly a little high. That is a subject of restructuring. We can restructure Nigeria in such a way that we enhance the deliverable from government so that we can tackle poverty, miseries, and helplessness among our people. But demanding for autonomy and riding roughshod in a way that can create and generate chaos, we must totally avoid that. Restructuring, yes, but regional autonomy, as of now, the Yoruba people will say, meaning that the sea does not go violent and you throw your boat into it anyhow and riding roughshod, lest your boats get decapitated or capsized.
So what areas of restructuring are you looking at, Ebenezer? What areas of restructuring are you looking at, if not regionalism?
Yes. We must first of all start by attitudinal restructuring. The gross indiscipline among the political class in Nigeria does not respect constitutionalism. If we adhere to the constitutions we even have presently and operate with its tenet to the degrees of even 50%, we will have a better nation. Having said that, people like me, people like Prince Tony Momo, we have a documented evidence of the kind of restructuring we want to see. Yes, anybody advocating that we should go back to the regionalism that we had pre-independence, they are talking about something that is untenable, and we cannot get that right now. But if you talk about strategic devolutions of power to regions, then it must be spelled out, probably in the following arithmetics. You have a regional government. The federal government is there controlling the security, controlling the judiciary, and controlling some strategic interests, immigration and things of that nature. Then you have a regional government where you transfer the current House of Representatives to the region. Then you maintain a Senate at the national level, at the federal level of government, and things of that nature. This will ensure a strategic devolution of power that will enable the flow of governance and governmental dividends to the people. This is the kind of restructuring I want to see. But the timing, we must be very, very careful about the timing. I think what we need currently in Nigeria is attitudinal restructuring first, then recovering the health of the nation. The nation is very unhealthy now. That was why I alluded to that Yoruba adage. So let us be very careful, because the agitation, there is a loud agitation for restructuring currently. That loud agitation is not coming from the sincere heart of the nation. That was from a political failure group. There is also a sincere agitation that is subtle. They have penned it down left and right. That was why I mentioned somebody like Prince Tony Momo. Mr.
Oyetakin, I'll have you just hold your thoughts for a bit, because we have to go on a quick break.
Oyetakin made known, devolution of powers perhaps is the best way to go, so that we can have a little bit of sanity in this whole issue called restructuring. But going forward, earlier on, before we came back, you were saying that, adopting this regional style might be a little bit, bumpy on the way. Could you share us a bit on that?
Well, I was trying to respond to his position, which I believe is right. I believe is right, and I believe that's one of the best way we can go. But again, the fear of what might happen, confronts us. I'm looking beyond the regional thing because we've been able to sow, quote and unquote, people in the state of Nigeria. I've been able to sow some ethnic cards. They play that too much. And in each region, because of our nationality question, take for instance the North. You also have a lot of nationality groupings there. And if you look, for instance, the South, which some people might believe will have an upper hand because of the oil that is present there, forgetting the fact that the greatest resource is human. When the human is fully built and all the potentials are nest, is far greater than the oil that you see there, because the human that will refine the oil or will process the oil in whatever manner to make it very lucrative. And if you look at the South, for instance, they also have nationality grouping questions there. You have the Ijos, you have the Sekiris that will never agree, you have the Yorubas and all of those things there. You come to the Southeast, you think they are majorly Igbos, no. When you break it down, the Anyomas are there and some other people. Even when you come to the South, the West, you understand, the Jebus want to carve out their own state, even within Lagos too. You also have some
but then there's no problem without a solution, right?
Yeah.
So with all these agitations, even as things are, if we're to concentrate more on regionalism, what can the federal government begin to do? What measures can be put in place to check any of these excesses from even escalating even further?
I think the best is what you have said. Remove those items, strengthen the confederation units, strengthen the structure that build up Nigeria. We can start from there. Strengthen local government, strengthen state government, put less attraction in the center so that everybody will begin to build their space. You understand? If that is done, I guarantee you, nobody will want to follow iPod or anything, because the question will be, what are the people at the local government doing? What are the state government doing with their resources? Why is it that they cannot provide free education, free quantitative education? Why is it that they cannot provide free quantitative health care? You understand? For everybody. Why can't we have infrastructures in place? You understand? Vis-a-vis roads, energy, and what have you. That should be the question on ground, not trying to carve out regions. Like I've said, even within those regions, heavy contradictions will prop up from the various nationality groupings. Superiority of power will come to play. You start having splinter wars within them. You can remember the Ife Modakeke thing. You understand? Even within that little space, you also will gravitate it within the region. But like I should have said, remove those things, strengthen the confederational units, you understand? Let them become very, very workable, you understand? And build the human. You can only build the human with good education.
Indeed, build the human, that is. Well, let me quickly come to Oyetakin. Now, with what Ayodele just said, and also what you mentioned earlier on before we went on break, that attitudinal restructuring is needed at this time. Now, how can that be dealt with if we're talking about attitudinal change?
No, you see, we are operating three tiers of government currently, namely the federal, the state, and the local government. And I will be advocating in a restructured Nigeria, three tiers of government that will be federal, regional, and state. Then let every region create their own local government and shoulder its responsibility if they must so do. But those things that must unite us, like the military, the judiciary, at the federal level, the security forces, all of them must converge. The customs and things of that nature must converge at the federal government level. Having said that, these are some of those periods in people's life when some certain things are expedient, but they are not necessary. And another time they are necessary, but they are not expedient. Restructuring is necessary, but right now it is not expedient because the country is sick. Now, if you take a patient into a surgeon, and the surgeon examined the patient and he said, is lacking in blood, he cannot go through the knife of surgical operation. It is the duty of the doctor. Nobody can bamboozle the doctor to do otherwise. Probably the patient needed blood transfusion. So be it. Probably it have to be delayed for 6 months. Nigeria currently is sick, and our sickness erupted from our gross indiscipline as political class. We do not know the limit of our practices within the established constitutional order. We ride roughshod, and when we fail the election, we mobilize our locality to shout a slow.
Oh dear. Well, it appears we have lost connection with Mr. Oyetakin in our Abuja studio, but we'll continue with Mr. Adewale in the meantime. Now, he's talking about security remaining, security majorly remaining at the federal level, while other areas such as electricity and other sectors be devolved to the states. But are there fears, are there concerns that these states may misuse these powers when it is given to them? Are there measures of checks and balances that can be put in place to avoid this?
It cannot be misused if the structures are well monitored.
Do we have the monitored or monitorable structures now?
Of course we have. I would take the Northeast for instance. Remember when the military was having issues in terms of operational sundry matters on ground to combat the Boko Haram and all of that, they have to resort using local hunters to be at the forefront because they understand the terrain very well. And they were monitoring them. At a point, they had to enlist some of them into the Nigerian army. You understand? Those are part of what we're talking about. Let us have state police. Within the states, you have police. You understand? Police structures and all of that. The central monitors them. In America, you have the SWAT team, you have the various local government policing, you have the state policing and all of that. But the center only need to monitor what they are doing. And once there's a flashpoint, they drop a flag and come down there and try to correct what is wrong. The center cannot control security alone. They cannot. Even when the issue happened at the Korodu, what did the present CP do? He went in there, coordinated the local chiefs.
You're advocating for even security to be
I have been
devolved.
advocating for state police for a long time. I was part of Pronaco in 2006. When we had the Pronaco conference, we said, let's have a state police. We reordered the Nigerian constitution. We put in place a people's constitution in a draft format and wanted to test it through a referendum. You must have state police. You must have state, every apparatus that you have in the federal, the state must have their own. There are some that the federal can let go. But the federal must also hinge onto some, because we are all hinged to the federal.
Right.
And there will be a measure of control.
Policing will be another major issue we'd have to talk about, especially with all the agitations we have now from different centers, different states. So if we have state police, we wonder how far that will even go.
It will take us very far. You sleep very well at home.
All right, we'll have to end it here at this point. Ayodele, Adewale, thank you very much for joining us on the News Hour. Ebenezer, Oyetakin from our Abuja studio, thank you so much for your time with us here on the News Hour.